I was 78, still carrying the weight of losing my beloved husband. Life had grown quiet over the years, and I had grown used to the routine of solitude. But today I felt a flicker of hope. My 3 children, Mark, 39, Emily, 32, and Sarah, 28, seemed unusually attentive. They had always been distant, absorbed in their own busy lives, but this morning their smiles were warmer, their laughter more heartfelt. We arrived at the beach under a soft golden sun. The waves shimmered, children's laughter echoed, and seagulls wheeled above us in the clear blue sky. Mark helped Sarah build a sandcastle, laughing when it collapsed, while Emily gently offered me her hand to guide me across the warm sand. I felt a rare joy, the long-awaited closeness of family, a balm to my grieving heart. I joined in, helping Sarah stack towers of sand, letting the tiny grains slip through my fingers. For a moment it felt like a gift from fate, a perfect day to make new memories with my children. I allowed myself to believe that the past, with all its distance and silence, could finally be healed. But then my phone buzzed in my bag. The screen lit up with a message that made my blood run cold. "Leave quietly. Don't tell your children." I stared at it, unable to comprehend the words. Surely it was a mistake, a wrong number? But the chill creeping up my spine told me otherwise. I looked at my children again, their faces still filled with smiles and laughter. Could it really be them? My own children, planning something sinister? Every small detail from recent weeks flashed through my mind. The sudden eagerness to visit, the insistence on discussing my finances, subtle remarks about my will. At first, I had dismissed them as harmless attention. But now, with the message in hand, they felt threatening, ominous. I tried to focus on the playful screams of my grandchildren, the gentle lap of waves at the shore, the warmth of the sun on my skin. But a shadow of doubt had fallen over the day. The perfect family outing now felt like a stage, and I feared I was the only one unaware of the script. I tucked the phone into my bag and forced a smile, watching my children from a distance. They looked so normal, so loving, and yet my heart thudded with unease. There was a darkness behind those smiles, something I had never imagined could exist in the people I had trusted with my life. As the sun climbed higher, my mind raced. How could a simple beach day hide such a threat? Who had sent the message, and what were my children truly planning? The laughter and the waves could not drown the chill crawling up my spine. Today's joy was only the surface, concealing a hidden danger I was just beginning to sense. The message still burned in my mind. Leave quietly. Don't tell your children. I tried to dismiss it, telling myself it was probably a cruel prank or some mistake. But the uneasy feeling in my chest wouldn't go away. Every glance, every gesture from Mark, Emily, and Sarah now carried a shadow I couldn't ignore. I watched them more closely. Mark, 39, laughed a little too loudly when I stumbled over a piece of driftwood. Emily, 32, insisted on holding my arm, her grip firm and strangely controlling. Sarah, 28, hovered nearby, her eyes darting to me whenever I turned around. Their attention, once comforting, now felt suffocating. I couldn't shake the thought that something was terribly wrong. Weeks before, subtle things had made me uneasy. A sudden insistence that I review papers I didn't fully understand, questions about my savings, and gentle pressures to sign documents that would transfer ownership of my house and bank accounts. I had waved it off, thinking they were simply trying to help me organize my affairs. Now it all seemed deliberate, calculated. A stranger walking along the beach caught my eye. He lingered nearby, pretending to watch the waves but glancing in our direction repeatedly. Every instinct in my body screamed that I was being watched, that my children were not alone in their plans. The thought that they might be conspiring to put me in harm's way made my stomach twist with fear. I decided to contact my housekeeper, someone I had trusted for years. I stepped aside, pulling out my phone, and whispered to her what had happened. She listened carefully, her expression hardening as I recounted everything. Together we realized the truth. This was not about money alone. They were planning something far more sinister. They wanted to forge my signature, perhaps even drug me, and make my death appear accidental. Fear surged through me, but I knew I had to remain calm. Panicking would only make me vulnerable. I carefully returned to my children, smiling as if nothing were wrong, hiding the storm that raged inside me. I needed a plan, a way to protect myself while gathering proof of their deceit. Every laugh, every playful gesture now felt like part of a performance, a mask hiding dangerous intentions. I was no longer the unsuspecting mother enjoying a sunny day at the beach. I was a target, forced to tread carefully among the people I had once loved and trusted without question. As the afternoon sun reflected off the water, my resolve hardened. I would not be manipulated or harmed. I would uncover the truth, piece by piece, before it was too late. The children I had raised, the ones I had loved unconditionally, were no longer innocent, and I had to find a way to survive the deadly web they had begun to weave. By late afternoon, the sun had begun to dip toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the beach. My heart pounded as I kept a careful watch on Mark, 39, Emily, 32, and Sarah, 28. The earlier signs of unease had grown impossible to ignore. I realized that their affectionate smiles and playful gestures were nothing but a facade. The memory of that chilling message echoed in my mind. Leave quietly. Don't tell your children. I could no longer pretend that it was a mistake or a joke. Their sudden closeness was a trap, a carefully constructed plan that I had almost walked right into. My own children, whom I had raised with love and trust, were plotting against me. Earlier that week, I had noticed strange behaviors at home. They had pressed me to sign documents I barely understood, insisting that it was urgent. There were mentions of debts, subtle hints about financial strain, and casual remarks that suggested they needed something from me, something far more than my inheritance. Suddenly, the dots connected. This was never about care or family bonding. It was about survival, for them, at my expense. I felt a wave of nausea as the realization hit me. They had intended to drug me, to forge my signature, and possibly make my death appear accidental. My own children wanted me out of the way so they could cover dangerous debts with my life savings. The betrayal was staggering, almost unbearable. The very people I had trusted with my life were conspiring to take it. I forced myself to remain calm, knowing panic would be my undoing. I discreetly sent a text to my housekeeper, someone I trusted completely, and arranged for her to meet me later with the police. I needed allies, someone to catch the scheme before it became irreversible. As I returned to the children, I smiled, pretending nothing was wrong. Mark tossed a frisbee my way. Emily offered me a bottle of water, and Sarah nudged me playfully. I played along, masking my fear behind the illusion of normalcy. Every laugh and gesture from them now felt rehearsed, calculated, each one designed to keep me unsuspecting until it was too late. I watched as they whispered to each other, eyes flicking toward me with secretive intent. The realization was chilling. My children had transformed from beloved family members into potential threats. I had to think strategically, to survive not just their plan, but the emotional devastation of their betrayal. By evening, I had made my decision. I would not allow myself to be a pawn in their dangerous game. Quietly, I began to gather evidence, observing every move, noting every word, and preparing for the moment I could confront them safely. I could feel the tension tighten like a noose around my chest. Every step, every glance, and every smile from them was a threat. And yet I remained calm, calculating my next move. For the first time in decades, I understood a new truth. Survival required vigilance, cunning, and the courage to face the ones I loved most, even when they had become my greatest danger. The deadly plan was unfolding, but I would not be its victim. The evening shadows stretched long over the beach as I returned home, my heart still racing from the day's revelations. Mark, 39, Emily, 32, and Sarah, 28, had no idea that their carefully constructed plan was now unraveling. Every smile, every feigned concern, had been catalogued, every suspicious movement noted. I had reached out to my housekeeper, who had contacted the police, and together we had devised a way to catch them in the act without putting myself in immediate danger. That night I pretended to rest, my movements slow, my expressions calm, while my mind raced with strategies. I let them believe I remained oblivious. They cornered me in my study, casually nudging me to sign documents, all the while smiling with what they thought was innocent affection. I played along, my hand brushing over the pen as if considering their request. Then, just as Mark leaned in, expecting compliance, police officers quietly entered the room. Flashlights swept across the room, revealing evidence of their sinister scheme. Documents with forged signatures, receipts for substances meant to incapacitate me, and text messages confirming threats and debt-covered lies were all laid bare. Shock and panic overtook my children's faces, The mask of affection shattered in an instant. I stood tall, my resolve unshaken. The betrayal stung, yes, but I had survived, not by fear, not by weakness, but by patience, vigilance, and courage. The children I had nurtured, loved, and trusted with my life were now facing the consequences of their greed. Handcuffs clicked around their wrists, and the reality of justice struck as they were led away. The housekeeper's eyes met mine, filled with relief and quiet admiration. We had prevented not just a theft of wealth, but a theft of life. For a moment, I allowed myself to breathe freely, the tension of months dissolving into calm. My home was safe again, my life intact. Yet as I looked out at the moonlit waves, a small, private smile curved across my lips. This day had proven a lesson. Appearances can deceive, silence can protect, and justice often arrives in forms one least expects. I had been betrayed by those I loved most, but I had turned the tide. The very children who thought they could manipulate and destroy me were now powerless, facing the consequences of their choices. I realized something profound in that moment. Strength does not fade with age, and the heart that loves deeply can also protect fiercely. I would never again underestimate cunning disguised as affection, and I would never again allow fear to dictate my life. The beach, once a place of false joy, had become a testament to my survival. And though the wounds of betrayal lingered, a quiet satisfaction settled within me. The story that began with a single chilling text had ended with a powerful truth. Even in the face of the ultimate betrayal, justice can be served, and the silent strength of a mother can triumph over greed, deceit, and danger.